The room goes off. Bodies leap up as one. A drink spills mid-air. Everyone screams the same word at the same second. And in the middle of it, one person sits perfectly still, drink halfway to their lips, half smiling, feeling nothing. Why? You've been in that room. A friend's living room during the big final, everyone in team colors, and you in a plain hoodie, watching a feeling sweep across every face except yours. It's a strange loneliness. There's a force moving through that space, physical, real, and it passes straight through you like you're not even there. Sociologists have a name for what's happening to everyone else: collective effervescence. A crowd, for a moment, stops being separate people and starts behaving like one nervous system. One goal, one surge, one roar, and you're the single nerve that didn't get the signal. You feel it in smaller ways all week. Monday morning at work, everyone replays the weekend's game, and you have nothing to add. Your feed fills with highlights and hot takes, and you feel zero pool to tap. At the family gathering, the game's on the big screen, and you quietly drift to the kitchen, because that's where the actual people are. And somewhere in there, a quiet worry sets in. Maybe something's wrong with you. Maybe you're joyless, antisocial, missing some fun gene everyone else was handed at birth. Maybe this is a thing to fix. Hold on to that thought, because we're going to take it apart completely. And the tool we'll use is a strange one. In a few minutes, you'll meet a researcher who proved the deepest truth about sports fans, not with a brain scanner, but by quietly counting sweatshirts in a lecture hall. But first, listen to your friend. Watch what they say when the goal goes in. They don't say they scored. They say we crushed them. We. And for a moment, that little word stretches right out of their chest and wraps itself around 11 strangers on a screen. People they've never met. People who have no idea they exist. That's the whole thing right there. Fandom is a pronoun. When your friend says we won, they've briefly merged their sense of self with a team. Their I became a we. And that we is a kind of loan. You borrow the pride of 11 strangers today, and next week, when the team loses, you pay it back with anxiety, with a bad mood you can't quite explain, with a Sunday that just feels heavier. Which raises a question worth sitting with. If a stranger scoring a goal can lift your whole week, and a stranger missing one can sink it, then who exactly is holding the remote to your mood? And how much of that remote did you quietly hand away? Now, that researcher, his name was Robert Cialdini, and back in 1976, he did something almost comically simple. He and his team walked into university lecture halls on Monday mornings and counted how many students wore their team's colors. That's it. Sweatshirts, jackets, scarves, a head count. It wasn't small. 3 field experiments, the first one run at the same time across 7 different universities with powerful teams, hundreds of students in total, published in a serious journal that same year. And the pattern was undeniable. After the team won on Saturday, the campus bloomed with team colors on Monday. After a loss, the colors vanished. 40 years later, researchers ran the whole thing again. Same result. After a win, students were more than twice as likely to wear their team's apparel. After a loss, around 55% less likely. It's like a mood ring you wear on the outside. Bright and proud the morning after good news, tucked away in a drawer after bad. Think about what he actually caught. Not opinions, not surveys. He caught human identity in the act of borrowing glory it never earned and dropping it the second it got embarrassing. When the team wins, we won. When the team loses, they blew it. The single most influential study of fan behavior ever run was just a man counting hoodies. And it explains why your friend says we and you can't. Their self stretched out to touch that team. Yours didn't. So what does that borrowed we actually buy? It buys a scoreboard. A team gives you an instant, public, shareable answer to the question, who am I? And it hands you a live scoreboard for your own self-worth. And this isn't just a metaphor. When your team wins, brain imaging studies show the fans' reward circuitry light up. Regions like the ventromedial prefrontal cortex and the ventral striatum, the same wiring that fires when good news happens to you personally. Their brain treats the team's win as their own achievement. These are small lab studies, so hold it loosely, but the signal is real. The reward bell rings for a victory they had no hand in, a dopamine dividend on a stock they never bought. And when the team loses, they push it away. They blew it. Those guys choked. The scoreboard dims, and the fan quietly distances themselves from the failure. Picture it as a giant, glowing scoreboard hovering over your friend's head, brightening and darkening with a game they aren't even playing in. Here's where everything you assumed about yourself flips over. You looked at that room and thought the difference was that they have passion and you don't. That they can feel something you're too cold to reach. That is exactly backwards. The caring is identical. You have the same machinery, the same deep needs. Fandom serves 4 of them, and they're all real. The need for identity, the need for belonging, the need to escape, and a taste of mastery. Fans, on average, are measurably less lonely and report higher life satisfaction. One study even suggested that attending a live event gave people a stronger sense that life is worthwhile than having a job did. Take that particular figure gently. It's a secondary finding, but the direction is clear. Fandom works. It meets genuine human needs, and it does it well. You are not above those needs. You have every single one of them. Your identical energy just flows somewhere else, toward a craft, a close friendship, a project you build with your own hands, a small community wearing different colors. Same fire, pointed at a different wall. And there may be a real reason you drift that way. Brain studies suggest reward responses are stronger when you're actually doing something than when you're merely watching. So the person who'd rather play the game, or build the thing, or run the trail, may be chasing a bigger, more controllable version of the same reward. It's the difference between scoring the goal yourself and watching a replay of someone else scoring. Both light the circuit. One lights it brighter. It's not less feeling. It's feeling that refuses to be handed to 11 strangers on a screen. That's where your passion went. It didn't vanish. It just won't be outsourced to a scoreboard you can't touch. Now, before you feel too pleased with yourself, there's a twist that keeps this honest. You might think the proof of being detached is saying it's just a game. Careful. Research suggests the people who insist it's just a game, loudest, are sometimes the most fused fans of all, protecting a bruised identity right after a loss. Picture someone at a bar the night their team lost, telling everyone who'll listen that they don't even care, while their hand grips a phone showing the final score, knuckles white. Real detachment is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. Performed detachment is usually just bruised attachment wearing a disguise. The people who shout it's just a game the loudest are often the ones it hurt the most. So opting out isn't the same as pretending to care about nothing. That's not the goal. The goal isn't emptiness, and soon you'll walk down a street where everyone carries a glowing scoreboard over their head, and you'll learn which ones are safe to switch off. But first, let's deal with that ache from the living room. That loneliness. Because it's real, and the answer is not to force yourself to love sports. The answer is to build your own we. Remember what the raw was actually made of. It was never really about the ball. It was belonging. Belonging is the load-bearing need, and the team was only ever a vehicle for carrying it. Fandom's genius is that it hands you belonging instantly and for almost no effort. A ready-made circle of thousands who already share your inside jokes, waiting the moment you put on the colors. The other path costs more. Building your own group takes effort, time, showing up week after week. But it hands you something deeper, a belonging that's actually yours and reward you had a real hand in. So the person in our story picks up his phone and texts 3 friends. Let's start something weekly, a game night, a run club, a little repair cafe where you fix broken things together. A banner they raise themselves, with their own colors on it. Nobody can trash it on a Saturday but them. And here's where this stops being about sports at all. The scoreboard hovering over a fan's head is just the most visible version of something almost everyone does. Pinning your mood to an outcome you don't control. Once you see the shape of it, you see it everywhere. A stock ticker, a follower count, the number of likes on the thing you posted, a stranger's offhand opinion of you. Picture that city street now. Everyone walking under their own glowing scoreboard. Scores, prices, likes, ratings. Each one lighting up and dimming, and each one quietly steering the mood of the person underneath it. Most of those scoreboards are showing numbers that person cannot control. The lesson of the person the roar passes through isn't that sports are silly. It's this. Look up at every glowing scoreboard over your own head and ask one question. Did I hand someone else the remote to my self-esteem? And then, one by one, reach up and dim the ones that were never yours to control. You handed that remote away, you can take it back. So the person goes back to the living room. Same friends, same big game, same raw building in the corner. The goal goes in. The room detonates. That upward surge of bodies, the unison shout, a sleeve grabbing his shoulder. And this time he smiles. Really smiles. At a beautiful play. At the skill of it. At the friends around him. He enjoys all of it. He just doesn't need the result to author his day. His own scoreboard glows quietly on the inside, steady, unchanged whether the team wins or loses. The same roar that once passed through him now washes over him. And it's fine, because he finally owns the only scoreboard that was ever his. Not caring about sports was never an empty seat where a passion should have been. It's a self-esteem that refuses to be outsourced. A scoreboard you keep on the inside, where you are the only one holding the pen.